Hello Pokemon fans, Professor K here for the Pokemon Evolutionaries, and today I've got a special guest with me. I've got Daniel Altavilla.
Hi.
And of course he won week 1 of regionals, top 8 the following weekend, and now top 16 here in Florida regionals. Congratulations on that, that's amazing.
Thank you.
So yeah, he's going to have almost 600 points as of right now. That's incredible this far into the season. So really awesome. And the special treat for you guys is I'm going to have him profile his deck for you. So I'll go ahead and turn it on over to you.
All right, sweet. So so the deck started out as straight Yveltal, and me, Brandon Smiley, and Jimmy McClure worked on a Gallade Archeops list. So for Virginia and St. Louis, I ran the exact same 60 cards of this whole 4 compressor, 2 maxis Gallade Archeops engine. And then Brad Curcio and his friends took the deck and they fixed it up to make it like, because the way we had it, it was all consistency, no real text. Like we ran 1 Darkrai, no Colress, anything, nothing like that. So what Brad did was he took out a Professor Sycamore, he added a Colress. He took out the HoopsAndHipHop for a Darkrai EX, and he took out, I believe, a Burbank City Gym for something else. So Brad took the deck and pushed it even further than we had. So with that, and with Brad's win, and my win in Virginia, I thought, well, why not just take Brad's list, build the list kind of like that, but make it to beat Sableye. So this deck is really meant as a counter to Sableye in week 3, which I expected there to be a bunch of. So starting off with that, let's get into the Pokemon. So we have 2 Yveltal from XY. The point of the 2 XY is that Sableye has a lot of crushing hammers, and they can always get them back. They have flare grunts, so what you want to do is you want to hopefully start with one of those, and you want to be able to like get a bunch of Oblivion Wings going on and just draw your prizes with that. So these, the whole point of them is to kind of counter energy removal decks. So I opted to put these in instead of a Fright Knight because of all the Sableye I expected. Next we have 2 Yveltal-Ex. Yveltal-Ex is like the best attacker with the Dark Engine. 1 is risky, especially considering that there's supposed to be a bunch of Yveltal in this tournament. So 2 is just, you know, the obvious choice. Next, we have 2 Darkrai EX. Darkrai EX is just a great attacker against decks that like try and counter Yveltal. Like for example, Toadbats runs Dedenne sometimes, so you can use Darkrai to counter that. You have Mega Manectric EX decks which one-shot Yveltal. Darkrai counters that. So we thought, well, Brad thought that that 1 Darkrai wasn't sufficient, so the 2 Darkrai is what we have now. Then we have a TheMetaDeck. The random item lock is great against Vespiquen. It's just great, period. Seismitoad's an awesome attacker. I think not including him in the deck would be a mistake. He's amazing, especially against Sableye. He's like almost your game plan. Like you want to get a Seismitoad out with a bunch of energy on it, and then you just win. Next we have Keldeo Ax, which is more of just complete support. It's like because we run 2 Float Zone, we run Dark Energies with Darkrai's Dark Cloak ability. So Keldeo lets you freely move in and out, switch your Pokemon around, and it's great to get out of Hypnotoxic Laser, Poison, to get out of sleep. So Keldeo's wonderful. Next we have 2 Shaman EX. A lot of people were playing 1 Shaman EX and 1 Jirachi EX, but I think sticking with 2 Shaman is the play, because if you prize 1, or if you have to Sycamore 1 away or something to get or Ultra Ball 1 away to get a Maxi or something, then you know you're not gonna have a Shaman for the rest of the game. So 2 is like it's just assurance. You can easily take 1 out, put in another trainer card or something, but I think 2 Shaman's definitely really good. We have 1 Jirachi EX. Jirachi EX has synergy with Maxis. In a sense that you can play an Ultra Ball, turn the Ultra Ball into a Jirachi, turn the Jirachi into a Maxi. So you can essentially have a hand of 3 cards, one of them being the Ultra Ball, with a Maxis in deck and a Gallade or Archeops in your discard pile, and just get a Maxis off. So you cannot play this deck without Jirachi. Next we have Gallade. Gallade was put in the deck for multiple reasons. The first reason, the most obvious reason, is that it's a counter to Mega Manectric EX. It one-shots it as long as you play a supporter in your turn, and you can get it out on turn 1, knock out their Manectric, and then they just have nothing. They can't one-shot you with Turbo Bolt, so So yeah, another reasoning for Gallade is the Premonition ability against Toad, Toadbats, Toadtina, anything like that. You could Premonition to try and like fish out your supporters and your energies from among all the items that you'll be drawing since you play so many items. So Premonition is actually incredible in those matchups. Lastly for our Pokemon is Archeops. The whole point of Archeops was originally for like to counter Vespiquen decks. You just you get Archeops out on turn 1. They can't evolve. They need to get a Wobbuffet out. If they don't, then they're just not gonna be able to even play the game. So that was the whole reasoning behind that. Archeops kind of lost a lot of its flair for this tournament, to the point that I was even testing this deck with 2 Gallade instead of 1 Gallade, 1 Archeops. But I ended up keeping it because a lot of people were talking about Electric, and if you get Archeops out versus Eels, it's really hard for them to set up in the same way it is for Vespiquen. So now for the trainers, we have 2 Maxis, as stated before. 2 Maxis is just like if you prize one, you have another, or if you have one in your discard pile off of a Battle Compressor and one in your deck, you have the option to either use VS Seeker for it or to use Ultra Ball for Jirachi EX for it. So that was really the whole point of 2 Maxis. Jimmy and I originally just had an extra slot in the deck, and we were thinking about putting in Chorus, and then Jimmy said, nah, I think 2 Maxis is the play. And it ended up being really good. Like 2 Maxis is incredible. It's the reason I hit so many turn 1 Maxis throughout these last couple of weekends. Next is 2 Professor Sycamore. I think 2 Professor Sycamore is kind of iffy, but I never managed to prize both in the game, so it's not that bad. You can get by with just one because you're not really going to be using it crazy often. Like especially if you get turn 1 Maxis, your next turn's probably going to be like a Chorus or Sycamore. So next is N. You need N in Expanded. If you're playing a deck without N, you're probably gonna lose. The reason N is so strong, obviously, is because you're taking your opponent's like 10, 20 card hand and bringing it down to like however many prizes they have left. So N won me a lot of games late game where I end my opponent to 2, 1, 3, and they just couldn't come back. Next we have Chorus, the 1 Chorus. That's one of the changes Brad made. He took out the 3rd Sycamore, put in a Chorus, and it's incredible. Like a card that lets you draw up to 10 cards is nuts, especially in Expanded, where every card is pretty much broken. Next we have 1 Lysander. Lysander is another staple supporter, and 2 is a little too much considering the whole point of the deck. So we're just sticking with 1. 1 Xerosic. I ran Xerosic. It was like, do I run Xerosic or do I run Ghetsis for Sableye? Because if you run Ghetsis and they get back their Puzzle of Time with Junk Hunt, then you can play down your you can play down your Ghetsis and they shuffle in both Puzzle of Time. But if you have a Xerosic and they use their Puzzle of Time for a Life Dew every turn, you play the Xerosic, discard their Life Dew, and it's not like, it's a guaranteed thing. Whereas with Ghetsis, if you shuffle in the 2 Puzzle of Time, they could easily, play Professor Sycamore, draw 7, and hit both Puzzle of Time again to get the Life Dew back. So I wanted assurance more than I wanted chance. Plus, I just don't like Ghetsis in other matchups, and I didn't want to ever think, well, if I get the turn 1 Ghetsis, I'll win, and then I end up, losing the game because I got greedy and went for the Ghetsis. So, and Xerosic honestly was really good in a lot of matchups anyways. Next is 4 VS Seeker. That's standard. There's nothing really to say there. 4 Ultra Ball. Same with those. Pretty much need 4 Ultra Ball. 4 Battle Compressor. The thing about 4 Battle Compressor is that a lot of these lists that you'll see online, we're running only 3, and I think that's what separates this original list apart from other Yveltal Maxis lists. The fact that with 4 Battle Compressor, you have a much better chance of starting with 1, actually greatly increases your odds of a Maxi. So I can't stress 4 enough. If you go down to 3, and you still hit the Maxis, then good on you, but I think 4 is the most consistent way to go about it. Next we have 4 Dark Patch. That's standard in Dark. In this list, some people were running 3 Dark Patch, 4 Laser. The way I see it, 4 Dark Patch is the play, especially with so much Sableye running around. 3 Trainer's Mail. because people are saying like, well, you can go 3 compressor, 4 trainer's mail, but I think trainer's mail is very iffy. You have to have a card that you need on the top when you use it. So I'd rather have the compressor for the assurance than the trainer's mail for, you know, an iffy draw. One thing about trainer's mail to keep in mind is that you can premonition, take the bottom card, and put it into the 4, and then use trainer's mail for it if it's a card you need. So like, trainer's mail has a lot of synergy with Gallade. That's something to keep in mind. Next is 3 Hypnotoxic Laser. Like I said, you could go like 4 Laser, 3 Dark Patch, but I think 3 Laser was the play for this tournament because of all the Sableye. You don't need Laser. A lot of lists, in fact, took out 3 Laser and 1 Verbank for like 2 Silent Lab and 2 Reverse Valley. But I thought Laser was the play because if you're ever in a pinch, you can play Laser, flip heads to put your opponent to sleep, and if they flip tails, you can steal a game that easy. So, honestly, it worked like maybe 3 or 4 times I won games because of that. So I think Laser is just incredible. Plus, with Fighting Fury Belt running around, the extra 30 damage is way more important than an extra 10 from Reverse Valley or Silent Lab or something. Next, we have 2 Floatstone. That can't change. You need it for Keldeo, you need it for Archeops. If they Lysander your Archeops late game and have Silent Lab in play or something, you need a way to get Archeops out of there. So I think 2 Floatstones 100% necessary. Next we have 1 Muscle Band. 1 Muscle Band and 1 Fighting Fury Belt. Originally the deck ran 2 Muscle Bands, but now that we have Fighting Fury Belt, I went with the whole, you know, 1/1, and I thought that having the option was better than, you know, just always having Muscle Band or always having Fighting Fury Belt. And honestly, there were many times where I drew into the Fighting Fury Belt and wished it was a Muscle Band, but there were many times I won because it was a Fighting Fury Belt at the same time. So I'm not sure where to go, like 2 Fury Belt, 2 Band, or just 1/1. But for right now, I think I'm going to stick with the 1/1 in my testing. Our A-spec of choice is Computer Search. People are saying Dowsing Machine could work too, but I think I'd rather have a Computer Search turn 1 than a Dowsing turn 1 with this kind of deck, and Computer Search was just broken these last couple of weeks. We have 1 Burbank City Gym. Just obviously for the Hypnotoxic Lasers. Brad took out the second one, so brought it down to 1 for Verbanks. The way I see it, a lot of Silent Lab was being played this weekend. So the 1 Verbank was iffy, but I just couldn't find like anything I wanted to take out. So maybe a couple games the Verbank actually cost me, but I don't think only having the 1 was ever so big that, like, you know, it was like the worst possible thing I could have done. Like, it was just, you know, one of those sacrifices I had to make in order to keep the deck the way I wanted it. So for energy, we have 4 double colorless. 4 double colorless is kind of necessary in a deck like this. You could opt for like more darks if you wanted to and drop the double colorless. You go like 8 dark, 3 double colorless. If people are playing Sableye and they have a bunch of enhanced hammers or something, I don't know. I think 4 is definitely necessary, especially with Gallade as an attacker. I've noticed most of the time I have to use Maxi. I have to use Ultra Ball, discard double colorless to get a Maxi off because I started with double colorless and I couldn't play it down. So I think 4 is definitely the best. And then lastly, we have 7 Dark Energy. It was originally 6, but with Sableye, you know, that's pretty much the whole point of this list. We had to, you know, I had to switch it up to 7 because honestly 6 won't cut it. Like, you won't start with it, you know, that often. You won't, if you compressor away a couple darks, you're down to 4. If one's prized, you're down to 3. So it's just very, very scary. So Brad brought it up to 7 last week, and I pretty much just stuck with that. So there you have it. It's a list that started out as straight Yveltal. We quickly decided to switch it to Yveltal Archeops. We ended up pretty much defining how the list is played, and then Brad took it even further. And it's had great success, and I hope everyone will test this list out, try it out, win some league challenges with it, and see how strong of a deck it truly is. Even while the meta is shifting around it, it can still pull out those wins.
You know, as you mentioned before, the meta shifts from regionals to regionals all the time, no matter what. Is there anything about this list that you would change now, seeing what meta you faced?
Probably the one thing about this list that I would change is I would take out one Dark Cloak Darkrai for one of the new Darkrai. And the reason I would do that is because the new Darkrai can hit 160 damage for only 3 energy. And with Hypnotoxic Laser and a Muscle Band, that's 210 damage. As long as you flip a Heads on Laser and put your opponent to sleep. So that's one thing. That while you may not use that attack often, the ability to one-shot any Pokemon that has a Fighting Fury Belt on it that only has 210 HP is nuts. And the Darkrai is such a great attacker against electric decks because they have a Raikou out with 160 HP. You're spreading your energies around, and then using his first attack, which is 20 plus 20 for each dark energy you have in play. So you're spreading your energy around, you're sharing the wealth, while not being weak to Raikou. So you're knocking it out and not sacrificing 2 prizes. So one issue I had was that Night Spear just couldn't get me there. It was only 90 damage, and I think the option to have a Pokemon that's not weak to Thunder, that can easily pull out a one-shot randomly, would be very incredible. Besides that, I think the list is, pretty much perfect.
I completely agree. I'm actually really glad you said that because I was playing against a couple of decks during the League Challenge that had the Dark Head, and I thought that would be absolutely amazing, but I didn't see a whole lot of it actually being played, not during regionals, but during the side events, I saw a lot of it, so definitely a very good addition to the deck. Well, thank you very much for being here, Daniel, and profiling this deck for us. Congratulations on all the success this season, and we look for great things for you from the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right, this has been Professor K for the Pokemon Evolutionaries. We'll see you all next time. Take care.